It's Detour time, baby.
That's how it starts.
Welcome back to the Wandering Pal.
Just step over here real quick. It's a detour. Detour, everybody.
Come over here.
Over here.
Hey, psst. Hey, guys, come here. Come over here. You're going that way, but just come this way for just for a little bit.
We've got candy.
No,
not that one. I'm so sorry. I thought it was a different game.
Welcome to the detour where we step off of the path and talk about the game a little bit.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Gosh, since the last time we did one of these, I feel like it's just been like full like story forward, like laying track, mysteries, learning about stuff.
Yes.
You guys have like just had like the mysterious world having been revealed to you. It's just like, I think I was trying to set up a choice between like, do you sort of still clock into mundane things and sort of sweep it under the rug? Or do you just like, nope, this is my life now. We're examining the mysteries. And I feel like other than Gordon, who has chosen like a manic crazy person to do both at all times and also raise a new dog.
Dog life.
I feel like you guys have chosen mystery path.
Yes, we have.
I think most of our characters realized that the mundane was not something that we wanted to follow anyway, and this was just a beautiful excuse.
I did too good a job making the mundane world seem terrible. My bad.
I mean, but also, like, we are still beholden to our mundane world.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which I think is the most interesting part, that like we can't just fully commit to adventure things because we have like jobs and stuff. And like now the adventure is our job, but there's other responsibilities like Gordon's route and like the government stuff, and
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, as a player, and school,
I still haven't gone back to see my family.
oh my
yeah,
god,
or like my family,
Right.
like I think that I'm waiting, like as a player, it's like the other shoe's about to drop.
Yes.
Like we have chosen adventure, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we get to abscond from our mundane lives.
We chose adventure, but at what cost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm really already feeling the tension of that. And like you said that, like, oh, like as characters, like we have chosen the adventure. I'm like, JJ did not want to do that. So
The adventure chose JJ.
yeah, unfortunately.
Are you guys supposed to be doing? So it's like you've been given a new title as the ICB, but are you still also supposed to be doing your other jobs too, or no?
oh yeah, because you're still working for the magistrate's office in a different capacity, right? So are you working two jobs? Are you a single mom who
I'm a
works two
single mom
jobs?
who works two jobs.
The way I've been kind of looking at it is that, like, whatever Gwen asks you to do fulfills your responsibilities to the hours you need to put in at Gwen's office that are registered with your school-ins, but also that, like, I mean, it's been a few days, but, like, it's been a while since either of you went to a class.
Yeah.
And, of course, like, JJ, Gwen is kind of setting you up to not have to do that anymore. She's giving you these forms and you've signed them, and like all it takes is like you could just hand those in and not have to do that anymore. Ibra, you just kind of have not been going to class.
Yeah, I've been skipping for a little bit, and
Even previous to the adventure.
yeah, I think
so
Ibra's.
at least it's in line, I guess.
Yeah, Ibra's kind of been looking for this sort of excuse to not go to class because they're not on the track that they want to be on, and they're still not exactly sure what that track is. But this sort of new adventure feels closest to whatever track they're seeking, even if they don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
I was re-listening to the pilot, and it struck me how like bored and annoyed Ibra is in the first, like that scene with the doctor. Like, I ate a bunch of bolts.
That was a really funny scene. I love that scene. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I mean, and well, that's the other thing. Like, I don't know if I intended this when we started the story, but like time in the story is moving kind of slowly.
It's been like 3 days.
It's been like 3 days.
I
And
love
we're like
that.
at episode 8.
I love it. It's been an eventful 3 days.
So it's been an eventful 3. So, but like we haven't even come around to your next doctor's appointment, Ibra, or like Cecilia coming back from her week-long trip of whatever she's doing.
Oh wow, right.
So like you're all still in the like exploring the new avenues without the
we haven't even
shoe to drop.
reached like downtime stuff for
we
like,
haven't.
Fran's mechanics. Even like everything ramped so quickly.
Oh, it did.
We
Yeah.
just got to like Fran's mechanic being
know.
revealed.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good thing.
I think so. Yeah.
I think the trajectory like tracks
Yeah.
where we're going absolutely
Yeah,
works.
that's kind of what I want to say. Like these 3 episodes, episodes 6 through 8 that we're talking about today, is like they did have sort of like a slow rumbling trajectory where like you guys were seeking sources of information, finding them inadequate, finding new ones, trying to maneuver your way way like slowly towards the center of like, you know, like it started with like you guys meeting up in that diner and like exhausted, and the first thing you do is like, let's go to libraries. Yeah. And then the libraries didn't have it for you.
I love the library scenes like, so much.
They were so good.
Oh my gosh.
So
just
good.
how quiet you had to be was so funny.
And then Samira bursts in.
It was so funny.
There was a piece of me, there was a portion of me that wished we had done that bit for like an hour.
I too, and I wasn't even in that scene, I too could have watched you do that for like an hour.
Genuinely.
It made me so happy. Oh my God.
Okay, quick sidebar. Sorry, I went to the Renaissance Pleasure Fair yesterday.
Yes.
And
Woo, shout out to the Ren Fair.
Shout out to the Ren Fair. But today I am only dust, so I'm going to be blowing my nose periodically.
That is so fair.
And to Dusty returns.
Cute, so cute.
See, in the
that could've been
detour,
much
in the
grosser.
detour, we let our hair down.
Yeah.
That's true.
And our
No, it's
snot
not
out.
snot. It's
Yeah.
just dust. I'm
Yeah.
literally just
Yeah.
like trying to.
The LA Pleasure Fair is in like kind of the middle of a desert, and
It's crazy.
yeah,
It's so.
I mean, it's
dusty.
huge. You need like a lot of land for it, but
Yeah.
it's dusty.
yeah,
It's
just
very
dusty.
dusty.
We mentioned we live in California.
Los Angeles, Hollywood to be specific.
Heard of it?
The place where dreams are crushed slowly.
with the greatest of respect for you, my friends and colleagues. Oof.
But yeah, the time dilation, I feel like, kind of feels real to what's happening.
Very.
I think so, yeah.
But I like again with that like rumbling sort of like slow, and you guys have been like are learning things. You know, you're gaining these pieces of information that like give context to the stuff that you don't know,
100%.
as opposed to finding out new things. Really, so far as I've seen it, I don't know. Maybe you guys know stuff. I also have a really hard time remembering like. I made this world. I know all the things about it.
There's
you guys
lots
don't know
of
stuff. I don't know
things
what
to
you
keep
don't know.
track. I mean, it's like for you as the storyteller and also just tracking like us as players, like that's a lot of things to balance and manage.
And being our editor,
Yeah.
you're living in a multiplicity of timelines in this
Truly.
universe that we could not comprehend.
Could you be the anomaly?
Possibly.
I mean,
Are
you're
you the
tr-
secret?
You're trying to usher us through the story, but you're also trying to usher the audience through the story.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm also playing 5D multiversal time travel chess with the audience as well.
Yeah.
And you're a member of our party too. Don't
Yes,
forget, right?
you
Oh, yeah, I
are
joined the
now.
Paz during the party.
Yes.
I have what they call a GMPC now.
Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
That's great.
GMPCs are fun. I recall a campaign where we started the adventure and there was like clearly like a Nepo baby who was like born to an epic quest and had this
Amazing.
gorgeous armor, but was just a huge douche nozzle the entire first quest. And like we ditched him the moment we could.
Yeah.
But then like that was the impetus for like his family to come after us, and that was it was like a whole story thing. It was very fun.
Brilliant.
I love that.
So but like Paz is not that. Paz is more fun. I
Paz
like
is
her.
delightful, absolutely.
Paz.
That reminds me of a character that's happening in my home Strixhaven game right now, where one of our characters got kidnapped, and so he had to play a replacement character for like 5 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And the character's like a Nepo rich kid named Quutod.
Can you say that again?
Quutod.
One more time.
Cootod.
Quutod.
There it is.
Quroutod.
Kutad.
Quutod.
I mean, you guys chose adventure. How was it to hear that like Paz, who, let's be honest, in that first fight was
Oh my
like
God.
kind of more of like a protect the
Yes.
person quest than an active for. Like, how does it feel like that person also wants to fully dive into whatever you're doing?
So
I feel
badass.
great about it.
Yeah.
I feel
So
great about
happy.
it. And she's like got and because I remember when you did the reveal at the end of last episode that was because of what happened in the
Yeah.
first fight.
Yeah,
She
well,
got powers.
We also screamed for about 9 hours.
Yeah, we
at that
did.
reveal.
We screamed.
We're gonna get to that. First, I want to talk about because before she knew she had those powers,
Right.
she made the same choice as you guys.
100%.
That's true.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, like. I was trying to confront you guys with what that looks like from the outside a little bit, even though you guys aren't really outside. But like, I don't know, this half of the room really like that. Does this half of the room have any dissenting opinions?
As both a person who has played many tabletop games and GM'd, whenever there is an NPC that like we cannot fully protect, I always get so scared.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, like even as like characters, like, oh, this is like a person that we love and care about, that at least most of the party doesn't know about the connection. Like only like I think if I remember, Paz only told Ibra about the dream that she had. So all of us are like, oh, we know that we know collectively that this is like a big deal and that there's like a really big thing happening and we're just scratching the surface, but we know that there's a lot more under the surface. We're not aware that Paz has a glimpse of that too. And so it's like one of the things of like, I want to give you like the agency of your own decisions because you're like smart, you're capable, like you're an adult, like you can make your own choices. And at the same time, it's like the fear of like, should we take any responsibility should anything happen to you? Like, are we responsible for you? Not in the sense of like, oh, like I'm your boss, but like in the sense of like, you're my friend and I care about you. Like, like what role do I play in like keeping you safe?
I think that's a conversation we can have with her though. Like I think that that's a great thing to bring up because I imagine she, especially because she has a disability, has probably had like that conversation before with people, and I'm sure she is fully capable of protecting herself, especially now that she has these abilities. So I wonder how she would deal with that conversation.
I have the idea of the century.
Whoa.
You don't have to do it.
You heard it here first, folks.
But I'm just telling you, we need to, maybe it's a mini game and it's a Paz training montage.
Which could take us back to your house.
I told you. I fucking
Ibra hasn't
told
even
you.
gone to training.
Big Hero
lately.
6 time, baby. Next year.
All right.
All the references.
That's great, and that's really good to know. Y'all want to talk about Paz's powers?
Yes.
Talk about Paz's powers.
We gotta. It just happened.
I'm so excited.
So as soon as she got touched by the wraith in the first combat, I was like, oh yeah, something unlocked there. That was like the electric current behind her eyes as she was being moved in the ambulance.
Oh yeah.
I made a whole character sheet for Paz. She's fully in the combat. She's in there. I want to shout out on mic. I don't know if I did this before. I want to shout out Valdespire's Secrets for including a lower limb disability feat
Yes.
that I had added to Paz's character sheet.
Hell yeah.
It has both advantages and drawbacks. I'm excited to explain them as we continue that combat that we left off in the middle.
Oh my
of.
God, that's right.
So, but like I feel really good about like her stuff. I think it's interesting that she's not the only one who's been touched by one of those ghosts, but she's the only one who got electric powers from it.
That's true.
As a storyteller, when that moment happened, because like you didn't anticipate necessarily that Paz would get attacked, or like you could probably glean it. Like you're like they're in the combat, like they probably are going to get hit.
I put a protection side quest in the combat for that purpose. Yeah.
But like when she got electrocuted, like do you as the storyteller kind of go back and look at that and then decide like, okay, what do I want to do now that is a thing that's in play?
I was really excited for that moment. and like as a storyteller, not that like I love Paz and I don't want anything bad to happen to her, but also as a storyteller, I was really excited when like she's the one of you guys, like, and you guys have HP, you have armor, you have like mechanics to mitigate this, and at that point Paz did not.
No.
And so I was really excited for like she's really the only one who took major damage, and like that's a juicy story nugget that can have consequences. That's like a big theme thing that I can like pull on and be like, okay, what does that mean now? I've been working on it. We're still so early in the story, and I don't want to reveal spoilers.
Don't do it.
I just want to say, Paz training montage, Paz shopping spree. Gotta go buy armor, gotta go buy all the stuff.
Yes.
I think we all kind of need some of that.
Yeah, we need a
My leather apron isn't enough.
Nope.
Your apron you use to make food? No.
Yeah.
I think that Ibra is eventually going to have to go back to training and is going to not want to do it alone and is going to want the excuse to not be alone in going back to training because it no longer feels right.
Wait, does that mean we're going to Upper Prosper?
Bracha Shinmar.
Probably.
Bracha Shinmar.
I think we might have to at some point.
We have.
We do have to at some point. Well, the question is, are we going up or down? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wait, because you live in the constellation, your family does?
My family lives in the constellation. I live in the come up.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Could we go up to the constellation and get a whole bunch of like really sweet gear before I don't know when we're going to get there, but at some point.
Possibly.
Sure, how much money you got?
Yeah.
I think
that
I have
too.
16 gold on me or something.
Yeah,
like
welcome
that.
to the campaign where we're tracking golden money.
Yeah, it's rough.
Remember like in Pokemon when you go to like the really fancy stores and try to
Yeah,
get
like the
clothes, and they're,
Celadon
like,
Mall.
Yeah.
and it's insultingly expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the one dress I want.
Right, like the $400 Pokeball or whatever.
Yeah. Or
Hell
like
yeah.
just like cosmetics
Yeah.
that are just like, that's it's gonna
It's like,
be.
oh, like the stickers back when Pokeballs had stickers.
Yeah.
Those are sick. I miss those.
It hurt my feelings personally. I took that personally.
What version of Pokemon are you
I'm talking
guys
about
on?
XY. There's like that was like the
this
first 3D handheld one, and they had these like cosmetics you could do for your trainer. And I love a costume
Yeah.
on a player character in a way that I will make irrational decisions just to facilitate getting a cool outfit.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Fortnite lives on you.
Yeah.
Having made the character Fran Weaver, who's constantly thinking about what it looks and
I had this realization that I think Fran is the most me I've ever put into a character.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's bad or good.
We love Fran.
Well, regardless, you've given me this gift, and I'm sorry in advance for what I do with it.
But yeah, like Tales of Symphonia, I was like, let me see those skins, guys. Let me see those titles. I gotta get the fancy dinner party title. I played through Tales of Symphonia 4 times because you can only take 3 people to the fancy dinner party at a time. And so I played through Tales of Symphonia 4 times so that everybody could get their fancy dinner party outfit for the final battle.
Unreal.
I love that.
Unfucking believable.
Phenomenal.
And they all looked so pretty.
And you're like, no regrets. It was
No
worth
regrets.
it.
No regrets.
It was so worth
I
it.
went through that
regrets.
waterfall puzzle dungeon. I went through the shadow puzzle dungeon. And for those of you who played Tales of Symphonia, those hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, you can do puzzles in other people's dungeons.
Hey, I had the strategy guide.
God. No.
I had the
Shots
strategy guide. You think I did that shit alone? I had the strategy guide. I held that thing so close to my face, I think I went cross-eyed because of it.
Just to be clear, that was a point.
I didn't use a single brain cell. Not a single. I only had 2 to spare, so I had to save them.
Great, got it.
Costume titles.
That's the other thing. Canonically, Ibra has like the lowest intelligence and wisdom of the entire party.
Yeah, but me as a person, you can't beat not knowing what to do.
I know as us as players want to go to an escape room.
So badly.
No, fuck no.
I will. Honestly, yes, it will be very entertaining. It will disturb you how stupid I actually am. The trick is don't do things you're not good at.
Yeah.
And no one will ever know that you don't know what the cardinal directions are, like pressed,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
P.S. Lynn and I at the Ren Fair, under the influence of many ales,
Slay.
Yeah.
we're discussing, pitching the idea of a Wandering Path After Dark episode at some point.
No.
Just saying.
What?
I love it.
Could be yours if you donate to us on Patreon.
I'm down. I'm down to do it.
Just saying.
When we reach X amount of patrons.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you say that, but like, we're a real show with real Patreon.
No, that'd be sick.
I'm not joking. I just
Can you give me the log line of what an After Dark episode would, in your mind, what it would entail?
wasted.
Schwasted. Great.
And then I'll add, and puzzles.
It's gonna be bad, but it'll be very funny.
It's gonna be
I volunteered.
me running Dread while drunk.
Oh boy.
That's great because as Mayana is to puzzles, I am to dexterity challenges.
I know I had this fun idea that I wanted to do, which was if I'm GMing something with a god in it, you have to arm wrestle the DM.
Wow.
Because that's what fighting a god would feel like.
Yeah.
Do you know that Dex has famously won
I
arm
know.
wrestling competitions
I
on
know.
air?
It wouldn't be Bex.
What are you talking about?
I'm
Misha
not
would
allowed to
choose
be the DM
Bex
there.
as
As
their
my
champion.
I will be your knight.
Didn't you see Dune? Come on.
Wait, what?
No, Dune 2 reference.
May thy arm
missed
chip
it.
and shatter.
Yeah, there we go. Oh my
yes.
god, that was so good. Another point for me.
Okay, all right. We're 20 minutes into the episode. Ian, is it time for the party points update?
Yes, please. Oh, I love these.
The only the board does not look dramatically different. The only real thing, which we discussed in the episode, if it made it in, is that I lost all of my party points for a
I'm so
terrible
sad.
pun that I said
Sacrificed.
off mic about Nichols and Nickelback.
Yep.
And I lost all my points.
Because here's the thing, party points can happen at any time.
Yeah.
Like, we are all playing the game all the time.
Yes.
Yeah,
The party
I
points
like to say
game.
that the party points don't matter, but it turns out party points are the only thing
I think
that
they're
matter.
the most important thing. It's
Yes.
like your objective as a human being,
Yeah.
which will always matter to you.
Like
and
when
the
my
party
soul
points are
gets
that.
weighed in the afterlife, it would be for party
against
points.
the feather in the ancient Egypt scale situation.
You get on the scale
So
and all
mad
your
at how
points
much
like
I
appear over
liked
your head.
It's bonus stars at the end of Mario Party.
I mean, I
I
will
always
say
get the
Heaven
bonus
works.
stars for being the worst.
Yeah. But hey, they gave you something, right?
They did.
Yeah.
Because I needed it.
BG has a section of party points. on the board.
Wait, BG's not a player.
Max is.
Doesn't matter.
He's BG.
Okay.
BG's gonna get BG might do some wild shit. BG's gonna get some party
Does
points.
BG get a party point for when his head turned into a square?
He
That
didn't,
is
but that's
so
that's a
funny.
perfect example.
Yeah, sure.
I have played back that moment where you hit an octave that when we were like big guy and it was like I can't even do it. It was just,
Wait, what happened?
like when we're like spitballing the names of the dog and it's like BG big guy and you go it makes me laugh every time. I love it so much. It's so good. It's like operatic. I was like, wow.
That
Those
episode
bars.
title is one of my favorites.
That's so
honestly.
Listen, if you think you like this podcast, it cannot compare to how much we, the people making it, like this podcast.
And to be real, everyone, I feel actually terrible for saying this, but you guys are all talking about how worried about Paz you are. I'm worried about BG. That's what I'm.
Me too.
Yeah, that's
I know,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm worried
Let's talk
BG.
about it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about
Actually,
BG.
yes.
Let's talk about BG.
I just, if you do something to that dog, I
Gordon's
will
villain
seek
origin story.
revenge.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's so dangerous the power you've given me that
Yeah.
so now in the Detour is the time to talk about it.
Let's do it.
I made for your last Gordon's delivery service,
Yeah.
which was
in episode 7.
Have we officially called it? We have, but that
Gordon's
just got me.
delivery
that
service.
much.
Gordon's delivery
I know,
service,
but
yeah.
I just have never really heard it until this moment.
You have a movie.
yeah.
done
So,
full Kiki.
so in episode 7 we did Gordon's delivery service episode 2.
Yes.
And I made like a complications table where I had 8 things that could happen while you were on your delivery, and you rolled a d8 about it.
Yes.
And one of them was that a dog was gonna, like, an angry street dog was gonna growl at you while you're on your deliveries, and you're gonna have to do something to do that. And you rolled so high
was
on all
awesome.
of on every single one of
was
those
so
checks
good.
that I had to be like, you have a dog now. But Ian, what you don't know, as the newest D&D player among us,
Hello.
is that anytime a player character has a pet,
Yes.
you have handed the GM a future heartbreak.
Yeah. Potentially.
No, every time.
Potentially. Allegedly.
Right.
I've seen Misha do this to a dog in our campaign
yeah,
before.
Allegedly.
Dax and Lynn and I played a previous campaign where we also had someone who had a dog, and the dog died mid-combat just from the pure mechanics of D&D, and then I tried to bring the ghost of the dog back, and then the ghost got kidnapped by a shrimp witch.
It won't happen.
If it's-
I won't let it happen.
We will avenge
I agree. I won't let it
dog.
happen either, friend.
Yeah, well, we will die before BG
That's
dies.
exactly what I was
No,
about
like
to
truly,
say.
I will die before BG dies.
This is a gift we
Mayana
continue to
Baron
give.
will die.
I will. Mayana will die. I will jump over this table and die before BG dies.
You run out onto the balcony and you're just threatening your own life.
Yeah, I
do
will.
it. I'll
Peach
do
girl. I'll be Peach girl. I'll be Momo. I'll sit in the hospital window telling the boy to please believe me before that dog dies. It won't. I'll be Momo in the hospital. I will be an anime from 2007 about it. I promise you. My skin will be glossy. My eyes will be too big. My hair will be too shiny. I will do that about this.
Okay, you guys, a new thing has just occurred in party points.
Yeah,
Mayana got
party point
10.
update.
Mayan did not get 10 because I can't count how many party points Mayan was supposed to get. I think we have just seen the creation of the party crown, which is when you hit a homer that hard, you have the party crown
That's a grand
until
slam.
such a moment that the party crown gets passed to another player. And so I can tell you with absolute certainty, based on the past 45 seconds, that Mayana now has the party crown.
Thank you so much. It's an honor. This was so unexpected.
My abs hurt.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Actively crying.
Yeah.
That is the gift I give to you.
Thank you so much.
No, dude, I am happy to give you a dog, and like honestly, like, what little fans we have so far will kill me if I do anything to this dog in at least the next few episodes. Like, I got the
100%.
dog, you know what I mean? So talk to me, as the person who's played the least amount of D&D, how you feel about having a pet in Dungeons and Dragons.
I'm really excited to see how having a dog affects the minor stuff, right? Like how it affects how much gold I have, right?
Yeah.
Which hasn't really mattered so far because Fran has so graciously like built us a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one of the benefits of having a craftsman in your party.
And weirdly, since I work with food, it seems like I can get around that. So actually, it might not really have an effect, but I'm curious to see what all that stuff
We're
looks like.
co-parenting this
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah.
It also
we
might have
are.
an effect with the guild if you're using guild services and guild
Well,
content.
I in my mind, I know which mechanics that's affecting. It hasn't come up yet, so we haven't really talked about it.
Yeah.
But when it does come up, it will be in a scenario in which you did not want it to happen.
I'm so
No,
excited.
no.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be really fun. I'm also just really excited. I probably shouldn't be for everything we just talked about, but I'm excited to see BG in combat and
Oh,
see
me
how
too.
that happens. There's been a lot of discussion.
And thank goodness you did say on mic, on camera, like in canon, that like he's a big guy.
Yeah.
He's a big guy.
Because like, imagine if you picked a little dog.
Yeah.
Crunk.
Because Renoa had a
Scrappy
dog in Final Fantasy VIII, right? She had like that black
God,
and white
yeah.
dog. Yeah.
God, do you know how many years it's been since I played Final Fantasy VIII?
I'm so glad that we're
many,
still in Final
clearly.
Fantasy.
Yeah. We are. So yeah, that's another thing that I have kind of learned as we've gone on is that like we only mentioned it briefly in our world building episodes, but this game is actually so Final Fantasy.
Which I love. As a Final Fantasy girly, so
Yeah.
happy about it.
I never got introduced to Final Fantasy. This is my introduction to Final Fantasy, and now I want to play it.
Wild.
Can I prescribe to you the perfect introduction to Final Fantasy?
Yes.
Because it's mine and I'm biased.
Yes.
Excellent.
Final Fantasy X-2 specifically.
Wow.
Because you play as Yuna, who is a totally different vibe in Final Fantasy X.
Might as well have been a different character, honestly.
She's hot girl summering it. It's Charlie's Angels. You're on a big airship. You're going around solving problems. There's great music in it. And they have, in my opinion, the best mechanic, which is the dress sphere system, which is you find these little spheres of light and they have different job classes. So you switch classes on the fly and every class has a magical girl transformation sequence and a custom cinematic specifically for that outfit.
Oh, this is so you.
shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And it's really fun and I really like the game and it's very campy and silly.
I want to play.
And then play any of the other ones you want. But Final Fantasy X-2, and here's the thing. A lot of people think Final Fantasy X-2 is the worst Final Fantasy game, and that's because you're homophobic.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
You're right, and you should say it.
You
Shots
hate
fired.
people who are queer. I'll tell you that right now. So if you are walking around here talking about how you don't think Final Fantasy X-2 is a good game, you're homophobic.
And also because you never played Final Fantasy V.
There you go. There you go. Oh yeah, I named a different character Ferris after Final Fantasy V.
I named Ferris Park after Final Fantasy V.
I thought you guys were going to say ferret, and I was like,
Oh,
weird
that's
name.
so funny.
No, Ferris, the
Ferris
park,
trans icon.
the park where JJ and Samira had like
Yes.
a beautiful moment
Oh, hell yeah.
in their
Yes.
childhood.
Wow.
Yes.
Yay.
She starts out, you think she's a man, and then you find out she's a princess, and you're like, oh yeah,
That would do something to
this
me.
is the best day ever. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Hey there, it's Misha. This is the rest stop. Come take a break beside the path with me, just until we catch our breath. First off, as always and as usual, our biggest shout out to our patrons at patreon.com/wanderingpathpod, to our newest patron, Eleanor G, and of course, a huge shout out to our Voyager level patron, JWX, who is rad and cool and keeps us alive with the fires of passion burning in their heart. We actually have 7 levels on our Patreon, and they all have great path wandering specific names that I think are very cute. Well, almost all of them do. We do have one Patreon tier at $69 a month that's just called Nice. But at any level, you will get a shout out in this section of the podcast, and I love doing the shout outs. So if you want those, or ad-free episodes, or blooper reels, or any of that fun stuff, or if you simply want to bring us life, sustain us, and bring us to new seasons, head on over to patreon.com/wanderingpathpod and pledge your support. We truly appreciate it. The Wandering Path is sponsored this week by Tab for a Cause, a browser extension that lets you raise money for charity while doing your thing online. Whenever you open a new tab in your browser, like if you want to know more about Final Fantasy X-2's dress sphere system, or you have no idea who Peach Girl is and you want to look it up, Tab for a Cause will show you a beautiful photo and a small ad, and part of that ad money goes towards a charity of your choice. And there's a ton of charities and causes to choose from, like reproductive health, bail funds, Action Against Hunger, Human Rights Watch, climate change action groups, and more. And they just launched Tab for Democracy, which raises funds to get out the youth vote. And best of all, you get to choose how much of your contribution goes where. The power is in your hands. Join our team by signing up at tabforacause.org/wanderingpath and help support your favorite causes and your favorite podcast, which we hope is us, and don't tell us if it's not. One more time, tabforacause.org/wanderingpath. That's it for now. Let's get back on the path and back to the show.
Okay, so Mish, for you as the GM,
Okay.
what have been the most interesting moments for you in the past 3 episodes?
That's such a good question.
Great question. I think the questions that JJ and Gordon asked in the library were really interesting ones. Again, I kind of loved answering those questions in a way that gave you context for the stuff you don't know about what you're trying to solve, but I mean, hopefully like propelled you further down that rabbit hole a little bit. Was a lot of fun for me. Like one of the hardest things in GMing, I think, is like trying to give answers to failed rolls, or even worse, middling rolls on like information gathering checks. Julian Mundy, actually, who was our first guest on the show, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yes. Oh my God. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second.
Yes,
But
yes.
he actually he gave me a great piece of advice recently, which is like when that happens, to answer the question stupid.
Oh.
Like answer the question, but do it in a stupid way, which I'm really excited to incorporate into my life going forward. But yeah, finding the ways to like not quite give you what you're looking for while still keeping the momentum going is an interesting challenge.
Why would you
not like
always
hitting
give
a
the perfect
wall.
answer? Like people don't give the perfect answer in their real lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Even the things they do know the answer to.
Exactly. So that was interesting. I got to go into like a little bit of the history before the city, which, I have some big brushstrokes, but not a lot of the finer detail. Doing that, that one kind of like account of the person who was assaulted by like a circle of Balvarox was really cool, because that's the first glimpse we've gotten of anything in this world before the city existed.
Right.
Very cool to me. And honestly, like having that scene in the workshop with Fryn and Fuller was so compelling, mostly because like I did give Julian prompts, but I only gave him like a few things. I gave him like, this is what you want out of the scene. This is like what you have to give Fran. This is what is standing in her way of you giving it to her. And like just kind of let him go. And thank goodness, like Julian's an incredible GM, and it's a hard thing to ask someone to come in and be an NPC.
Yeah.
But like I think he did a fantastic job. He made
And
it
you
compelling.
two work together so magically.
Yeah, that's because he's my oldest friend. So.
He was wonderful. He was a wonderful addition. Just a great player, a great person to have in the room while we record. Just like lovely.
Yeah. I mean, audience out there listening to this podcast, you have to tell us. But I think it went super well. I think it really bodes well for us having future guests on the show.
Absolutely.
I think, I especially love that dynamic where like, we did his scene first and it was kind of long. And so we did it and got it out of the way to make sure it was good. And then like, much like you guys, like Julian was just around to comment on the rest of it afterwards.
You got a
So
hat trick.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was so great. It was delightful.
Julian has his own count on the party points board.
Yeah.
So.
He does.
Oh, that was the other new thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guest star party points.
Also,
Yeah.
just to say it for anyone who hasn't heard, myself, Misha, and Julian make a science fiction podcast called Star Tripper.
Yes.
It's out there
And
if
it's
you
so good.
ever want to
Yes.
give it a listen.
So good.
Yeah, it's really good. It also features music by the people who contribute music to this show.
Heck
So,
yeah.
so if you like the show, you will probably like Star Tripper.
Because when you work with people you like, you keep doing it.
That's I hope so. That's but like the scene with Fuller was so cool to me. Like describing the workshop, like we as a group have sort of talked about being interested in narratively justifying these like class subclass leveling up mechanics. And so as soon as we were like, oh yeah, like Fran gets to join like a guild of magical item people. I was like, well, what does that look like?
Yes.
And who runs that? And what's it about? How does it interact with the magical systems that we already know exist in the world?
Yeah.
And then, I was looking through it. I was like, oh, yeah, you make spell tags. There are tags in anime. There are tags in video games
It's
where you just
so
apply paper
good.
tags to things.
It's also very Sheena from Tales of Symphonia.
Yeah, I'm pulling from specifically Deno Coil.
Oh, I don't know
Which
that.
is a very little watched anime, which is about like the first city in Japan where AR glasses are like widespread, and so there's sort of like an AR layer over the whole city. And the protagonist's grandmother is like a lead hacker in the city. It's very funny.
Incredible.
And she makes these. They're like digital, but when the characters interact with them, they're paper tags and they apply them to stuff and it manipulates the code of the AR layer in the digital space.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we could do that with this.
I love
That's
that.
what tags can be. So like,
So cool.
yeah, finding a way, because they're called tags in the book, but like putting that in the story was very cool.
I loved that. I just loved you giving narrative justification for mechanical things, because I think like sometimes you play with enough people that you just run into this thing where it's like, yeah, and that just happens. Like mechanically, like you have this thing and it's not like connected to your character in any meaningful way. And it's like you went the extra mile and like really incorporated it into the story.
Well, it's like being able to reintroduce like the role play part of it. It's
absolutely.
like the story, you get to embody that a little bit within the story and within the character and how you play the character, where it's like, yeah, like, of course, we're playing a system that provides you mechanics, but how do you make those mechanics like yours and make them make sense in a world? Like, that scene was so cool because I could like see the tension both on like Mayana's face, which I wish that the listeners could have seen, but like the stress, like you were so stoked, but at the same time you're like, emotional memories, and then they're removed from you, and like Fran is like so like clearly present and so eager and so determined that like for me in the moment being like an audience member, and that was like, oh, but the tension between like that being Fran, like the stuff that makes Fran but like that and what Fran wants to accomplish, both in like not just the shifting dream of like being a fashion designer, but now that shifting to like wanting to help and protect people. Like when we were talking in the world building of the things that we wanted to do, is having these aspects of like responsibility and sacrifice, where I could really see that, and it kept going in that scene. Like it kept building and building, and I was like,
It's I think in my journey as a TTRPG player, like I think I had this instinct to just not give up things. And that's just like holding on to like, no, I don't want things to change. I don't want things to be different. I don't want things to be like hard.
Yeah.
But like you have to do those things. Like otherwise it's like, what are you protecting? Like a made up, it's very real, but it's also not real. And it's like, am I sacrificing a more interesting part of a story that we're all telling together to hold on to like who my character was in the first episode? Like that's not fair to the story.
Character development is important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's cool for the character development too, of like really reacting to like the world as it unfolds in front of you.
Yeah. And that, in times of struggle, like you can't hold on to everything. You can't.
Well, I was hoping that would make its way in when you were making your character Fran and Ibra, even like the two of you were like, yeah, and we work in Boggins and that's how we know each other. And we all hang out there. And I was like, great, I'm gonna rip that place up and it's gonna be closed.
Dang.
Goodbye, Boggins.
I haven't, in my GM journey, I haven't gotten to that place yet where I'm like, I'm gonna take that from you.
Well, that's the thing about this story is like it is a world full of hard choices. Like we talked about the themes of this being, how do you make those hard choices? And so, not that you want me to take away every precious thing, looks over at BG worryingly.
No, fuck you, but I'll murder you.
I'm opening the window.
We know where you live.
But like there is some freedom from a GM standpoint of you guys like wanting to play a story where those choices come up that like allows me to make them harder.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One of the things while I was, writing our media kit.
Look at us, Mom. We're a real podcast.
While I'm like developing the media kit, I was like, writing things like what listeners could like pairs well with listeners who like immersive audio fiction, techno-magical settings, nostalgic anime, and then I was like trying to find the last thing. I was like, and coming of age stories.
Yes.
Where like all of our characters are kind of at this crux, not like, I think now when you say coming of age story, at least in this current media landscape, it's usually like teens.
Yeah, you think like 17 to 18 or high school to college.
But like for like young adults, emphasis on the adults rather than young, like we're all playing characters in like essentially the early 20s of like.
Which is the new 17.
Which is the new 17, where it's like the formation of a new identity, but not in the sense of like, I'm learning what I like, but in the, I have a place in this world.
You have things you can contribute.
Yeah. And trying to figure that out and what that means to you was the thing that I ended up landing on, where like all of the things that formed our characters' identities and purpose as of episode 1 has completely changed. And we're all reacting to it.
We all had very normal regular dreams of doing well in school or like figuring your stuff out, doing well at bread, making an outfit, and now it's so much bigger than that.
Well, I think there's also like this world. You've done such a great job of having there be so much cost and penalty and consequence. And that
Thanks, it was one of our basic themes.
Yeah. But the thing is, it can be a good consequence or a bad consequence.
Yeah.
And it's really up to us as the collaborative storytellers to figure out what it's going to be.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I feel a little bad that like, just because I keep finding such juicy moments in all these other scenes that, again, the time dilation, things are moving so slowly that I do feel like, where Fran has moved on to her new purpose and JJ has moved on to their new purpose and Gordon really just having two purposes out there.
Yeah.
We'll talk about more of that in a second.
Okay. But like Ibra, I still feel like is looking at that, like especially with that panic attack of like, oh no, things have to change and I'm not ready.
And things have to change. I'm not ready.
You don't know yourself.
I have to change. What am I? Like there was that. I was re-listening and what Fuller said about the application of the magic being dangerous is what really gave Ibra that panic attack.
Yes.
Was like, I'm the application of this magic.
And you didn't
I'm
choose
dangerous.
that.
Not at all.
No. It's scary. Yeah. It's very scary.
Yeah, so we've had those moments with. I feel like that moment, like we're very close to it with Ibra. Like it's coming in the next episode or so. But
I'm excited. I feel like that the next scene, this combat is going to be catalytic for Ibra.
Yeah.
I hope so. So like maybe by next Detour we'll have a chance to talk about it.
Yes.
Ian, did you?
2 words.
Yeah.
Inspector Gordon.
Yes.
Okay, what?
Yes.
Gonna lean into the detective hard. Talking about the character changing from where you thought it was day one. The uncovering of the mystery and the facility that Gordon is having with doing it. I want to lean in more and go get a book.
Yeah.
On how to detect.
like JJ fully recognizes that both Fran and Gordon are way smarter than her. And like, so being able to accompany Gordon to the library and like kind of see that shit happen is like, no, you have like a lot of like you have a lot of intuition, like you are a learned person and like a skilled person, and you were just like not in an environment that like gives you like books of this kind. Like, but you're like, you are a researcher, like your little notebook, like
Yeah. Oh
like,
my God.
like,
Yes.
like, and like this is maybe Lynn projecting some stuff onto there, but like the reason why maybe you like fuck up 4 pallets of bread episode 1 is actually like you're experimenting, like you're doing like all this trial and error, and like you ultimately like also mechanically like you are a scientist,
Right.
And so like JJ sees this in Gordon a lot, that's like, hey, I think like you might belong here more than I do. And not in like a self-disparaging way, but it's like, I'm so excited that you can finally get this, because I think you'll do really, really well and make something out of it. Not like that you should like stop being a baker, stop doing anything, but it's like, keep investigating. I will rely on you to do that because you're good at it.
That's so interesting. I like that. I don't even know if that occurred to me, but like, yeah, we made you a scientist character with the highest intelligence and then put you in a guild that's like mostly about doing one thing the same way every day.
But you do experiment though.
But that's
because
the
you
thing.
try,
Yeah.
you
That's
try different
The
stuff.
garlic knots,
That's
the
the
sausage
tension.
rolls.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's funny is you say to keep baking, which is possible in one iteration of the game, but based on what we're talking about, making hard choices, having to, you right? It's like, that's such an interesting story too, of getting to the point where all of a sudden you don't want to be a baker anymore, but that's what you've done your whole life, and you live in this world where, well, once you say you are.
Yeah.
Well, that, and also like in with JJ, like JJ has the magistrate who's like, what do you really want to be doing? Or like, hey, you might say you want to do this, but your actions are indicating to me that you actually are more interested in this. And like, if Gordon doesn't have that person in his life, like maybe it's Cecilia, maybe it's somebody else, but like who can go, dude, get out of here, man. Like that person who can kind of redirect you and be like, are you really gonna stay in Indiana?
Right.
You're really
Shout out to my
staying here.
therapist at
My
age
question to
16.
you is, in this world, can you move? Are you legally like allowed to move once you You know what I mean?
I mean, we work for the office that moves jobs. So if anyone's allowed, it's us.
Oh, sick.
Truly, you do work for the lady who moves the people around.
But it's not easy, I imagine. Like, most people don't have that access.
It's not easy.
Probably.
It doesn't feel culturally normal.
Yeah, I think that it's the culture side of it. Is like when we talk about stuff, is like, oh, your family is like your work is your family, is your life, is your work, is your family, is your life.
It's my surname. It's literally my surname.
Yeah, and that's the thing I've been playing, right? Is that like, well, especially with JJ, like that's the conflict so far, and so like we're still in the beginning, but we're ready to move into that phase where like, okay, you guys have made the choices, but you're right, it's the culture. It's about, you know, especially with JJ, like, yes, you can do this and you want to do this and your mentor says it's okay and then she encourages you to do this, but what do your parents think?
Exactly.
And Ibra, you know, you're ditching classes and you're whatever, what do your parents think? You know, Gordon, I think that's a great tension to look at, especially as Cecilia returns from her trip and like, you know, you're not slacking on her deliveries, but
you're trying stuff out. You're shaking shit up.
You're changing shit up. You change stuff up at the church with those garlic rolls. Like, she's going to hear about that.
Right.
You know, like, it's still to be seen what she thinks of all this when she comes back and what advice she has for you moving forward. I also think it's interesting that, like, Fuller laid a tag on the gun that your mom gave you, Fran. That, like, there's something there, too.
Yes.
We're really about to start looking at, like, you guys have made this choice, but what does that mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
Sorry, the cat in this room has chosen me, and I'm very happy about it.
Nice.
Mayana, that's Gaz.
Gaz
From the bursar's office. That's the guy. Gaz, yeah.
I'm so happy.
When we this is Gaz, my partner Erin's 18-year-old cat. We moved him across the country from Pennsylvania. He always has drippy eyes, so when we do voices for him, like we do for all our pets,
that's so
he kind of comes out like this.
Yeah.
And he's also very just like an old cat seated in his ways, so he like gets what he wants and wants a thing. He expects it. So that's where that character came from. You probably just forgot to do it for me.
Yeah, we see each other, guys.
Quick side flavor.
Yeah.
I just met this person whose cat lived to the age of, give me a guess.
32.
30.
Yeah.
30.
You want some extra sauce on that?
Yeah, I do.
Yes, please.
Sauce on my sauce.
Most old cats tend to die of renal failure. Their kidneys give out.
Wow.
There was a study that I read from Japan in like a few months ago where they like cured the most common causes of renal failure in cats, such that like if this becomes a widespread medication, most cats could live to 30 now.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That has nothing to do with this podcast, but just a little bit fun fact.
It has
Side
everything
cat.
to do with this podcast.
Because there's a cat here while we're recording.
Okay, I have another word for everybody, and you don't have to answer this. We can leave it open-ended, but it is a word with a question mark on it.
Okay.
And that word is dungeon.
Yes. Dragon.
Oh my gosh, when you had we haven't even gone into the side quests yet, but we retouched on some of like additional leads during Gordon's dog training game.
That's another big like rumble of information coming in, is that like you have leads to follow up on for side
You found Astra.
Yeah, and we found a speck of Astra where I'm like, we are... Like, I know places where JJ wants to go, and also that Lynn wants to go, and Lynn wants to go everywhere.
The restricted thing with the skating team.
The teens, and then factory. Like the factory. Yeah, the teens at the factory, and then in the mines, and then at that house.
Not in the mines.
And we cannot. We know that there's a restricted level, like 4 levels, 12 through 15.
No way.
But I'm definitely ready to get into a place, where like we can't just like have a conflict and disengage. I'm ready to start dealing with some shit.
Also, for the level 3 level up, most of y'all hit your subclasses, and we're going to see some of that with Fran and Ibra.
Yeah,
but between Gordon and JJ, there's like new stuff that we have. Well, mine stuff isn't that new. It's just 3rd level spell slots.
But good. We need those.
Yeah, we do.
Hey, just 3rd level spell slots. How dare you?
Whatever.
It's my best friend you're talking about. 3rd level spell slots. My God.
I've known that guy since kindergarten.
Yeah.
Me and 3rd level spell slots.
Me and 3rd level spell slots. We fucked it up.
I'm about to play a 1/3 caster, so shut up.
You're never going to get there.
Never. I never get their level.
But like, dungeon question mark. I answer with dungeon exclamation point.
Dungeon.
I am excited for like since we're talking about subclasses and classes, I'm excited for the fact that we can either continue on our trajectories or multi-class in this, because I started thinking about that when Inspector Gordon came up. I'm like, there's Avalda's inspector class.
Yeah, it's the investigator class.
The investigator rogue.
And it's very much like you're looking for clues. You pick, you also pick, like, I think you pick a favorite enemy.
Yeah,
favorite
enemy.
I was reading, again, because I was working on the media kit, I was reading so many different source book bits all at the same time. I'm like, now I don't know what anything is anymore. I don't know.
Hold on, shout out to Mage Hand Press. They've been so nice to us. They sent us a physical copy of Volda. Thank you so much, Mage Hand Press. I want to make sure we get it right. Let me just look it up real quick.
Yeah,
so the short description of the investigator class in Volda's is supernatural researchers and monster hunters. Investigators use a few silver-tipped crossbow bolts and a tome brimming with rituals to banish monsters that stalk the night.
Fuck yeah.
Play an investigator if you want access to boundless utility options and the ability to go toe-to-toe with a vampire, werewolf, or electric jelly
That's
ghost.
where we're going. Right there. Inspector goddamn Gordon.
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
Yeah. I know there's some multi-class things that I kind of am thinking about JJ, but it depends on what happens in the story.
Yeah, like I am slightly sorry for the time dilation. I hope it's not like too much of a slow burn, but
Please
like
don't
we
apologize.
are right on the precipice of like really digging in and
Truly don't
some
apologize. We've had so much fun.
I'm glad.
And we wanted to dig into things minute by minute.
Yeah.
So
I think like part of what's working really well, these first episodes when like time is moving a little slower, is like still like, oh, kind of about the characters as individuals, like in their individual contexts. But then like the next part is like, oh yeah, these characters out in the world and responding to the world at large now that they've made their like their self-centric choices.
Well, now that you've accepted the call to adventure and are crossing the first threshold.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's almost as
hero's
if
journey.
story arcs are real.
No way.
Thanks,
Really?
Joe Campbell.
Wow.
Shout outs to my pal Joe.
Yo, first name basis, me and my boy Joel. There is one thing we haven't talked about yet.
Oh.
Samira.
My favorite thing was Mayana not.
Had no clue.
You were so
The angry face.
Had no idea.
And what's so funny about that is in my like scene breakdown for the episode, I did just write flashback with Samira, flirt role for JJ.
Yeah.
And that's all I had written down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about how much romance there is in this campaign. I'm deciding
I love
that
romance.
that Ibra is Arrow Ace, like
Oh.
the one without for this whole campaign, and that's my decision. And I'm after listening all the way through again, I'm like, I think I accidentally set that up.
Interesting.
I have not done a lot of games with a lot of romance in the
Are you
past.
kidding me?
I really wanted to take this opportunity where we're taking the story really seriously because we're making a podcast and take that opportunity to examine romance.
Romance is
Yeah.
my favorite part of anything.
Yeah, well, thank you, Ian and Lynn, for being my little guinea pigs in that.
Yes.
I think I'm really excited
I
to
can
see where it
continue
goes.
to grow and evolve and
All of the
devolve
looks across the ballroom between Paz and Gordon,
My favorite thing
in the
ever.
middle of combat because she's in the party now.
she's in
I'm
the
so
party now.
excited.
Sing
Combo
out.
moves between everyone.
Oh wow.
Synergy.
I do
Synergy
feel like
attacks.
Paz and Gordon though are still on sort of like the young track of
No,
the
yeah,
flirting.
I'm not pushing anything. We're still gonna abide by dice rolls.
No,
We're
that's
gonna
not what I
play
mean.
to find out, but I want it so bad.
What I mean is the sort of the hot and cold of well, now she's in the party, so now she's really close. So how does that change things?
yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And now you got that text from Fran being like, I think Ibra's moving in.
Right.
I love that, especially with you being like, yeah, no, Ibra's definitely Arrow Ace and completely
How could I
misreading the
misread?
situation.
Because why would you be that close to someone if you didn't like them?
Yeah.
So my dumb brain is like, oh, okay, I didn't know. I had no idea I was getting like this. My bad. Sorry, guys.
just
so
so
funny.
much happening.
No,
I
let's
love you stirring the pot. Please
I
continue
didn't mean
so.
to. Mechanically, I was like, oh, I'm gonna say something that truly is misinterpreted. Very atonement, but Fran was like, I think this might be happening.
Yeah. No, please continue.
No,
I will now also participate.
let's also come back to JJ and Samira.
Oh,
Then.
yeah, whatever.
JJ and Samira.
I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
That feels like the strongest relationship piece of the show to me so far. It feels
It's
like
so
there's
good.
a lot of weight there.
Unrequited.
I mean, like,
I don't know if it's unrequited.
Or deeply repressed.
That's the one.
yeah. So, when I was developing the character, like after we did our world building stuff, some of the questions that Misha was asking was like, oh, like relationships, like family or like classmates or coworkers, like who do you have bonds to? Who do you trust? Who you not trust? Like, how are they like a catalyst in how you like have belief or have lost belief? And so, my favorite thing with creating characters is like fleshing out their family. And in this game, I think is pretty important.
You came back with a full like
I have like a family
tree almost.
Yeah, I came up with like a family tree with some like bullet points for each person, and they are actively so fucking Filipino. Y'all don't even know. And because I was like, oh, like the idea of like work is family is life is work is family is life, and like those kind of three things really coalescing. And so when I came up with Samira, I wanted Samira to like be a really close childhood friend that could also at least initially serve as a foil to JJ, of like someone who was very sure of herself, who was like willing to like follow her own determination, like no matter the cost, that kind of stuff. And like JJ being the opposite of that. And then while I was writing this, I was like, and they're gay. Yeah. And then I was like, I'm gay. So I think that my own queerness possessed me when I wrote that.
It took over.
It really took over.
Stop writing, no. Stop writing, no.
I was like, and I
keep writing, yes.
That's the gay goblin inside.
That is just me. That's what Lynn is short for.
Gay goblin.
Yes.
Goblin? Oh my God! What?
Sounds like a party point for Lynn.
That's a party point for Lynn.
Yeah. But yeah, like as I was writing that, I was like, and I think what will make that extra juicy would be like if JJ has been in love with Samira this whole time.
Yeah.
And whether or not they will ever act on that remains to be seen.
That has got to be the closest flirt role I've ever played in a game. It's never been that close before. It's so good.
The
really
breathing you did.
Yeah. And it's like, like at that point in time, you really came in with that flashback so heavy. Like the only thing that when we were like thinking of like potential things to do, I like talked to Ian, we're like dog training. I was like at a park. I was like, it's in Minetown. JJ used to hang out in Minetown. Maybe like it's one that Samira and JJ would go to. And then you came in with a fucking steel chair. Yeah. I was like so flustered.
Much like Aerith in Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Leave.
Fucking
get out.
No.
You get out.
But yeah, you came in with a steel chair. I was so flustered throughout that whole thing. Like the spirit of JJ did possess me in that moment. Where it was like, I'm now like actively imagining myself like as a 13-year-old like in love with like one of my best friends at the time. And I was out the whole time, so like some of my best friends I ended up dating, but like one in particular I was really thinking about was like if and for this person whose name I will not name,
shout out to nameless person. Don't invite
nameless person.
You know who you are.
Anybody without a name, give us $5.
If you think I was in love with you when I was 13, donate to our podcast.
And you're correct.
Anyway, and like this was before she was out as queer. Like we were again like 13, so like kind of just like on the cusp of anything being figured out, and we were in like suburban Illinois. Like there's a lot of stuff like layered onto that. Where in that moment I like really put myself back. Like I remember a moment at a playground, blah, and I was like, you're great and cool and awesome, and I think you're the best person ever, and I mean that in a way that totally makes sense and is normal.
Dang.
Yeah, cool.
Well, and I loved like for a character that was designed from the jump to be so sure of everything she does in every moment, to have one moment of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Like that's storytelling gold, baby.
And all the joking and laughing and teasing like has so much richer flavor now.
An
That
excuse
slide
to
tackle.
physically touch each other.
That slide tackle is so
Oh my God.
queer teenager.
So great.
It's like, I don't know, I just need to make contact with you all the time, and I guess it'll be slightly violent.
I live
I don't know
for
why.
these moments.
They're rituals. They're
in
intricate.
stories and in life. That's what it's all about. This is what life's about.
Yep.
Is those
That's
moments.
so true.
Oh.
All right, y'all, I'm very excited to introduce a new section to the Detour, which is Question Corner. We asked for listener questions, and finally we have some.
Yay, you listened and when you wondered.
See, that's a party point.
Okay, I want to answer some listener questions specifically from our patrons at patreon.com/wanderingpathpod.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for giving us money. We'll answer your questions first.
Yeah, we love
From
you.
Sydney, what
My
are
girlfriend?
No.
No,
No,
different Sydney.
one.
Sydney is now canon.
I thought for a second that Sydney was listening to the podcast without telling me.
Hey, all Sydneys out there, he'll be your boyfriend if you donate to us on Patreon.
This Sydney is gay and will punch you in the balls.
That took a turn.
Also hot.
Sydney asks, what are the mechanics that were used to cast a spell without spell slots left?
Oh.
So back in the mech fight when JJ had no more spell slots left and Lynn asked to overcharge.
Yep.
And this is not in vanilla Dungeons and Dragons.
Nope.
This is one of the things I made up, and the reason is we thought it'd be cool.
Yeah.
And it is.
The mechanic is,
Please?
yeah.
Yeah. Without giving too much away, basically someone whose Astra Crystal is depleted can juice one last spell out of it with a 75% chance of breaking the crystal when you do it. And this comes from like anime and Final Fantasy and
Every
like
video game ever.
you know, like using like the power inside you to like go beyond your limits plus ultra.
Limit break.
Yeah, limit break. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. So, and I thought it'd be cool because a lot of that stuff was on our vibes list. So I was leaning into those tropes. And I think, you know, we've only seen it once. It's also like potential fodder for something cool to happen later.
Yes.
You know, like if I let you know early that overcharge is a thing, then later when you're in a dire moment, maybe you'll try to overcharge and something dramatic will happen.
Yes, please.
That's one of my favorite things about like other systems too, that I'm immediately blanking on all of them, but a bunch of ones like have like some kind of last stand or
Yeah.
like limit break capacity that you can do a really cool thing, but it could come with a really severe cost.
And that's
Yeah.
one thing that I love about, like in our world building, we talked about how magic comes with a cost. And this is the ultimate form of that, is like there's a 75% chance of the ultimate cost here.
Yeah.
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 I wouldn't call that the ultimate cost.
Okay,
No, I think it'd
fine.
be like
but in
if
terms
It
you
of
was a
damage.
50 gold cost.
for
one
some
of
of y'all, that's the ultimate.
One of the systems that I'm aware of that has something like that is called Shadow Dark, which is a
don't know that
solo.
one.
It's fairly
Oh,
new.
yeah.
It won a bunch of awards at Gen Con this year.
Oh, nice.
But they have a death thing, and it's like Blaze of Glory, which is you auto crit, but you die.
Right.
There's Risk It All, which is you roll, and if you roll anything above a 10, you come back with full HP. But if you don't, you die.
Yeah.
That's sort of like, that makes me think of that one that got Mollymock dead.
Oh,
Right?
Wait,
There was
what was
something-
that one?
I can't remember the exact mechanics, but in
Yeah.
Critical Role, there Mollymock had like, I do this, and if I fail, I die.
Yeah.
And they failed,
Oh.
and they
Yeah.
died.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, ours are not that dire. I mean,
Yeah.
unless running out of crystal means you go on a longer thing and then maybe you die later.
Right, or if we're in a dungeon and all of a sudden.
Exactly,
now you're-
exactly.
Yeah,
That's
right,
what. So that's why I wanted to include something
Yeah, I like
that.
that. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what the most high stakes ramification would be, like had you not succeeded. One is just that you were down, Ibra was down,
And under a mech.
and under a mech, which would have been very dangerous. Yeah, honestly, like the risk less so for you, JJ, and more so for Ibra in that situation. But I wonder if there's also something mechanically where like you can take damage, if you don't succeed.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about overcharging electrical capacitors that are attached to your body somehow.
I feel that's what a natural one would be, is like,
yeah, you're in pain now.
And you guys didn't know this at the time when the overcharge happened, but now that you know that there's this like other slightly different, maybe more powerful version of Astra out there, like what happens if you try to overcharge that?
Yeah.
Stakes be higher.
No, I guess we'll just have to do that.
Yes, we'll just have
I think
to
we should try
find
it
a-
with the tiny
the little
grain of
guy,
sand.
the little
Just overcharge
tiny-
this one.
the little
I
green.
get the super cantrip.
You get two
Hospital.
mage hands.
Wow.
Two hands. Okay, next question from our patron Hannah. Thank you, Hannah. Can you tell us about my sound design process? How do I decide what moments should have effects? How do I choose effects and music? How long on average does it take you to edit and design an episode?
So I want to
Just
answer
sit back
this
and
one.
relax.
I would say sound design is a lot about timing. It's having a lot of pieces in my bin which I have a giant hard drive full of sound effects that I've garnered over a sound design career. And like just having all the pieces available to me and then editing it together in sequence with the music and the sound effects placed like with correct timing that just makes it sound rad as hell. And that's my process is I try to like set a background for y'all to live in. You know, like downtown has a different sound than the edge, has a different sound than the dustpan, has a different sound from like Gwen's office. I try to do those like background paintings. And then in the moment, I try to do what would sound cool or what would sound funny, especially when y'all make jokes. I love sound designing to your jokes.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Y'all are very funny.
We don't make jokes on this podcast.
No,
it's so serious.
So serious.
Never heard a single one.
It's a very dramatic podcast. But so, like, if you guys say something funny, I want to play. I want to be there in a world where, like, we're trying to make something like. JJ, when you like tripped over the chair in the library, like I didn't know you were going to do that, but then I listened to it later. I was like, it'd be funny if you could hear her trip over the chair. It's like that's the kind of thing I do. Yeah. So in combat, especially, like I'm trying to. We've only had a couple of combats so far, but I'm trying to like develop what each of your spells sound like, what each of your moves sound like. I have like what Ibra's Warden's mark is. I have like whenever Gordon injects a muffin with fluid that makes it do bomb stuff.
Yeah, whenever I try to shoot something and it doesn't work.
I do. I will. And
It's true,
and also
though.
like when you went to Fuller's place and like he upgraded your gun and Julian was there in the moment and improv like a cool sound upgrade. Now that like then I want to do that.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there later. I'm like, it'd be cool if that was correct and you could hear it as he was describing it. It would be dope.
Well, so here's my question for you, though. I wonder if what's implicit in her question is, like, do you just have such a good understanding of all of the sounds that are in the bin so that you go, oh, okay, I'm at this moment. Ooh, I kind of have a gun sound that I kind of know, and let me go find it? Or are you like, are we in the library and you go like, there needs to be a sound effect here, search bar, chair, and then you just like go through?
It's absolutely the second one.
Ooh.
Usually I'll start, and Ian, you know this from working with me in the past, but sometimes I'll always start with the literal thing.
Yeah.
I'll always start with what I think the real object that's being described would sound like.
Yeah.
And then what often happens is other people who aren't me listen to it and they go, that's not satisfying. I'm like, but that's what it sounds like. And people will be like, real life's not satisfying. You have to do something else.
Yeah, damn right you do.
So I've been trying to lean into like the nature of you guys narrating and supporting what that is. So like not always being so literal.
Sure.
You guys are just like a lot of stuff is magic. A lot of stuff is like not real, and support like not trying to crowd out your description of the magic is important to me.
Yeah.
So trying to balance that. I also, coming back to the question about music, I also use music in this show a lot to convey tone. I think I spend the most time making these episodes just picking and editing the music. I have a lot of fun with it. There's a lot of music on that website that we use. Shout out to the Independent Music Licensing Collective. They're good friends of the show, and we love them very much. I think that they make the show sound rad and is a really good shortcut to make you feel stuff quickly.
Yes.
How long about does it? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, I just wanted to compliment Misha for a quick question, saying that I don't want you to like sell yourself short on being like, yeah, I just look it up and then change it if it doesn't sound satisfying.
That's a lot.
Like,
That's a lot.
You can make it sound like sunlight.
Yeah.
And I could never explain that. I could never explain how you do that. And I don't even know if you could explain it to me. You just instinctively, intrinsically know how to make that feeling happen in the human brain from sound.
Yeah.
So, great question. Thank you for asking. I went to school for theater sound design.
Wow.
And what I learned in my 4 years of college for theatrical sound design
Was how to wrap
is that
cable.
Huh?
Was how to wrap cable.
That is
Gotta wrap
a
cable.
large portion of what I learned.
Cable knows the way it wants to be wrapped. You just have to allow it to do it.
It's so true. And a lot of what I learned is that a lot of art and a lot of design is picking what you think is good and then justifying it with philosophical concepts later.
Oh.
Like you just have to make a choice and commit to it for a reason.
Yes.
And then that says something. That's art.
I feel like that's the same way too with lighting, because like I remember I lit a show for a black box theater in college and people were like, I've never seen something lit that way. And I was like, well, it was like heaven. So I just kind of like did a bunch of lights that felt like heaven.
Yeah, so
but
Yes.
It's just like it's instinctive, I think, because you're an artist, obviously. So it's like you can tap into that ethereal thing.
Sure. And that also comes in with like, understanding the culture in which you live and like what tropes lead to your listeners thinking the things you want them to think. And, that just takes study. And I've just been like doing it a lot. Thanks for the complos.
I have a baby follow-up question. What's your favorite sound?
Oh.
Wow, what
in
a
general
question.
or used on the show?
No, just in general.
Oh.
In general.
Okay, but also the one used on the show.
Okay. In the show, I love doing the tuk-tuk, honestly.
Damn right you do.
Yes.
It's so satisfying. I use like a little library of like dirt bike sounds. It's just like so cute and very Studio Ghibli in my head. I'm always imagining like Ponyo's mom's car when I do it.
Oh, yes.
Wait, what color is the tuk-tuk in your mind?
Ooh.
In my mind, it's like white and grimy.
Oh, fascinating. What
It's
color
like covered in city dirt.
Yeah, okay.
I thought it was like white with a red stripe down the middle.
Got it. What color?
I thought it would look like a postal truck.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mine was also white. Like
Wow,
a
that's in my mind. It's like either like a light brown or it's like seafoam.
Ooh, I do like
Seafoam's
seafoam.
fun.
I like
Seafoam's the
seafoam.
Studio Ghibli choice.
Yes.
Can it be a seafoam postal truck?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. My favorite sound in general is one I made in high school where I was doing we had a short play festival at my high school.
Pop off.
Yeah.
And I designed a show that was written by a guy who would later go on to found the website Clickhole. And it was a show. It was a show. He went to my high school. It's called Eggsicles.
He's always been the same man.
Yeah, he has. He also he made a short film while we were in high school that makes me laugh every time I hear Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. I cannot hear that song without laughing.
God,
Oh
I
my
need to
God.
meet this person so badly. I want to understand his mind.
So it was like a show where like CIA spies in the 50s were interrogating a Russian spy about like a really nefarious plan, and they kept bringing people from throughout time to like come and interrogate this guy.
I love it.
Spectacular.
And early in the plays were only supposed to be like 10 minutes long, and this one was fully 40 minutes.
This man is an auteur.
Yes.
You cannot hold him down.
Correct.
Absolutely.
So early in the show, they say that the place where they're interrogating the suspect is like underneath an animal testing. It's supposed to be an animal testing lab, but I'm pretty sure when we did the show, the actor said animal torture lab.
Oh, no. It's a lab for the torture of animals.
Yeah, so I had to make a background loop of animals being tortured. I didn't like that.
No.
Eventually, over the 40-minute show, the sound fades out, and at the end, somebody goes, "What happened to that animal torture facility?" And they go, "Oh, didn't you hear? It got replaced by a tank of whales falling on a landmine." And then I had to make the sound of a tank of whales falling on a landmine.
Oh my God.
And then blackout, end of play.
This is chaos.
And I still have that sound effect. And I submitted it to a sound design contest once, and I won. And I got to see.
You have to put it in the end of this
Yeah.
detour. You have to.
Yeah.
That is
We
a
have to make
blackout.
it
I'm
here.
begging you.
And then because I won that contest, I got to see American Idiot on Broadway for
Oh
free.
my God.
And now, for your moment of zen, a tank of whales falling on the landmine. Wait,
That is the greatest.
Last piece of that question. How long does it take you to make an episode?
Yeah.
Good question. I would say maybe like 10 hours to edit and another 12 hours to, let's be real, mostly just put the music in.
So 22 hours per episode?
Yeah, about. Plus
Wow.
the 2 to 3 hours we record for.
So 25 hours per episode.
And
Yeah.
that's not including the notes that we give, mostly because the notes that we give aren't really that extensive anymore, because Misha's really good
I
at
know
the
you
job.
really nailed things pretty quickly in
Yeah.
the process.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
We have a category in our doc that's like for notes that are just like nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, funny.
They're mostly just nice now.
And Patreon subscribers, if you're curious, Misha's doing 22 hours of work without a boss.
Yep.
Yeah.
who's paying
Without a
them,
boss,
so-
just out of the drive and the ambition and the heart's fire.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I put in like an hour or two a night. You know, it all comes together.
I feel you though. You
Don't
when it's
downplay it. We're
something you're
making it-
passionate
Thank you.
about.
We're
No,
making it intense for the patrons.
It is a lot of work. If you think
Patrons.
it's worth something to you, you should donate to our Patreon,
There we
patreon.com/wonderingpathpod.
Yeah.
Okay, next question.
Okay. Last question today. We have a question from Maddie in Kansas. Thank you, Maddie.
Kansas.
Question is world function question. We've gotten glimpses into how the government of New Prosper works. Can we get a specific outline? Is there a mayor or a council? And if so, do they live up on the constellation or down in the city proper? How do people feel about this governing body? And why isn't Gwen running everything? She seems so competent.
Because she's a woman and she's competent. That's why.
Fantasy fulfillment right there. A competent government official.
Imagine a woman who cared.
Good question. So how does government work in New Prosper? We haven't really gotten there yet. They are up on the constellation. I do think like the seat of government is up there because it was up there during the war, and I don't know if they would have moved it onto the ground.
That feels like a big hassle.
In the first 60 years. Maybe in like another 100 years or so, they'll like one governor or other will be like, I'm meeting the people down there or something. Or maybe not. We'll find out.
Yeah. But in the meantime, it's definitely kept separate.
Yes, they're definitely up there. That really plays into like our themes. There's a governor that I imagine is like a president who is elected. I think we covered this, that it's been the same governor for the past 3 or 4 terms.
Governor Melissa Cinco.
Yeah. And then I think that each district of New Prosper comes together in a city council, which is kind of like the legislature. So like there's like East Minetown, West Minetown, Hillside has a rep, The Edge has a rep. I think there are like a couple of reps from the constellation, even though it seems like maybe it would only be one district to consolidate power. And then they come together in kind of like a citywide Congress.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if there's like a third branch. I kind of imagine New Prosper like the legislator makes laws, and then the governor says, yes, those are good laws, you can have those. And that's kind of what it is.
That's exactly how the conversation went down to.
Where does Gwen fit into that power structure?
I was just going to say, I think that the reason that Gwen doesn't have more power is because Gwen intentionally chooses to be on the lower level.
Got it.
Yeah, and they refuse to give too much power to anybody on the lower level.
But she's not a rep. She's like a city manager.
She's like an independent office that is part of like I watch a lot of West Wing. She's like an independent office that's part of the executive, kind of like a cabinet position.
Sure.
But she runs things mostly autonomously, but she's technically under the authority of the governor indirectly, I think.
Because like even in the system, we have like the heads of the guilds, which are also part of the government to some capacity, but more as lobbyists?
Yeah, probably.
Actually, maybe each of the guilds also sends a rep to the city council.
Like Cecilia, right? Probably.
Yeah, or maybe there's like a specific...
Cecilia's not even the full head of the guild, though.
No, that's true. She's up there as a rep for... Yeah. I'm not... See, that's the fun part about an improvised storytelling podcast. I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to have to nail it down eventually.
Yeah,
we're still figuring it out.
Interesting.
Yeah, you haven't encountered it yet, so...
Thanks, Maddie.
Sidebar, I was re-listening to the world building episode, and I caught that we said that Cecilia was my older sister.
Yeah. That's why... Okay, but remember, in the first episode, we asked you to clarify that, and you said, no, she's not. And we were like, okay.
Okay, good. Because I heard the word, and I was like, wait.
Because remember we said your guild is your family.
Yes,
so
right.
She's your older guild sister.
So that was our world building, but in the canon of the actual recorded episode, you said, no, it's more of a sister-like figure in your
that
guild
makes sense.
as opposed to being my actual sister.
That's right.
And if you will check the record, you will see that I did not perjure myself.
That's a party point for me.
Yeah.
You guys had to see the hand movement that went along with it. It was great. So like I was re-listening to like episodes when we were recording to know what was happening, but I hadn't re-listened to the world building episodes. And I went back and listened to them 2 days ago, and my mind was blown by how much stuff we talked about in the world building episodes that you can now see in the show. That when it was happening, I wasn't like, oh, I remember talking about that. And like how it's come to. Like the body mod section where I was like, oh my God, it's going to be so fun to like watch me squirm because like that stuff makes me really uncomfortable, but like we should still do it. And then I thought we just didn't do it.
No. And then Ibra's tooth was there.
It's been there the whole fucking time. And I was like, oh my God. So that's been a really, really fun experience to see how the core concepts are getting teased out and changed and moved around. That's really fun for me.
We're getting to time, so I'm gonna move into I know, I'm so
forever.
But we're having so much fun.
I know, that's the worst part about it is that we have so much fun making it.
Okay, take us where you want to take us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to the show.
Thank you.
Truly, thank
Genuinely.
you.
Thank you.
It means the world. We're like putting our hearts and souls into this, and it means it a lot that you guys are seeing it and appreciating it.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Annie.
So honestly,
straight white man to the rescue.
Honestly, I think that's a party point. Yes! I think that's a party point.
Let's go.
Confidence, yes.
Yeah, back
Honestly,
on the board.
yes.
Good, very good.
I mean, this is my favorite job of all time ever. I want to do this only for the rest of my life.
And what's interesting too for me is like I worked in YouTube for a long time, and like I'm just used to like a comments section of things, and I'll usually just like check it because I'm like I want to get a gut check of like what people feel about the things that I make, and it's interesting to have something where there is no comment section, and just to be like, I don't know, I guess it's out there and people are listening to it and feeling a way about it.
People are definitely listening to it. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please, if you're listening to it and you like it, drop us a line, write us a review on wherever you're listening. It's like people used to say like leave reviews on Apple Podcasts. It algorithmically helps. It doesn't, but like we do like
nice
reading them. Yeah,
It's nice to know what people are liking and not liking.
Absolutely, and we want to be answering listener questions and story questions more, even if it's just like, like what's every character's favorite color. Like, obviously for Fran, it's purple. We know that.
Yes, we do.
But like,
Speaking of favorite colors, I feel like this is really indicative of the fact that we're accidentally playing Scooby-Doo now. We got a dog.
Oh,
We have a dog.
Yeah,
Were you not in the room when we figured this out?
Yeah, no, Mayana was not in the room when we figured this out. We became Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated.
No way.
Just cover real
Fran
quick.
is Daphne.
Fran is
Everything's
Daphne.
purple.
Oh.
Ibra is Fred.
No.
I like traps.
Gordon's Fred. Or wait, no, you're Fred.
Yeah,
Oh my
that's
God.
Shaggy.
Guess who
You're
Gordon
Shaggy.
is? With the dog.
And you're Vel.
Yep.
And Velva's.
Right? This broke us the other week.
Oh my
I
God.
was gonna give myself goggles. Hello.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
so if you out
I
there
can't see without my goggles.
Oh my God.
So if you out there in the listening sphere have other like 5-man bands you want to compare us to, please write
Jabberjaw.
Wandering Path mailbag. Come
Yeah.
in soon.
Yeah, give us questions. Yeah, let's
we have a
answer
contact
them.
form on our website, wanderingpathpod.com. We're at wanderingpathpodcast@gmail.com. Tweet us, Instagram us. We're on YouTube, so you can leave comments there if you
Oh
want
my
to.
God.
Comments on our YouTube.
But also, get in touch with us. We really want to hear from you. It would be so exciting to make this more of a dialogue, especially in these detours.
We want to bring you along.
We want to
Yes,
bring you
please.
along.
On the detour.
Yeah.
And the whole path.
And the path.
Let us wander together.
You can come if you want.
Ian's like, whatever, I've started a podcast. I'm good.
No worries if not.
I love this confidence coming from
I
this
do
corner.
too.
It's so
I
good.
live.
I'm just playing the devil's advocate, motherfucker.
Oh yeah, white man in the room.
A devil's
it is.
avocado.
The devil's avocado?
The devil's avocado.
Okay, French is so weird because the lawyer and avocado are like so similar. So that there's this lawyer in Louisiana whose billboards are l'avocat, and it's his face on a pit.
Him and Sweet James, the lawyer, the attorney, need to get together. L'avocat and Sweet James.
I live for this.
It sure does sound like we've come to the end of it.
The podcast is over.
Oh yeah, there's the detour. We passed the Sweet James billboard. So
Hey, look at that. We found our way
we're
back
good.
to the path.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening again, and we'll catch you in a couple weeks.
Oh my God. Thanks, guys.
The Wandering Path was created by me, Misha Stanton, and produced by Bex Taylor Klaus, Lynn Rafil, and me. This story was game mastered and sound designed by me, Misha Stanton, and was played and performed by Bex Taylor Klaus, Lynn Rafil, Ian McEwen, and Mayana Barron. Cover art by Lynn Rafil, transcript assistance by Darby Summers, and music courtesy of the Independent Music Licensing Collective. Our production and house manager is Erin Bark. If you like what you're listening to, please tell your friends and let them know where to find us. Our website is wanderingpathpod.com, where you'll find links to subscribe and follow us wherever the path leads. We're also on Patreon, patreon.com/wanderingpathpod. We're so grateful for anything you can do to help us keep making this show. Thanks for wandering with us. Till next time.